BM8 Unfiltered. BM8 Unfiltered. BM8 Unfiltered. BM8 Unfiltered. BM8 Unfiltered.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of BM8 Unfiltered, and we've loved your contribution to this particular program. We've loved how you've interacted with us on the various platforms. If you're joining us on the Brian Mundubile Facebook page, remember you're leaving your comments so that you can actually interact with Honorable Brian Mundubile, who is the Tonse Alliance Chairman and presidential candidate for 2026 general election come August 13th. To interact with Honorable Brian Mundubile. I am your host. My name is Bochi, and we get straight into it. How's been your week, and how have you been?
The week has been good, Buchi. Very busy. We've been busy up and down. Week has started. Very busy. We've been busy up and down. Week has started. Of course, I also want Solwezi, Chavuma, Kabompo, tujivye pi. Mkwai mwewe na luwingu na miposha. Ndeti mulishani. Abena chipata tilibwanji. Kwa mugubudu. Mulibwanji uko. Nami che abonse muno chungulo pautu kwa kulansha kweli ashi tumfwe efo mwikele na ine mumfwe efyo njikele.
Remember, BM8 Unfiltered is live on the Brian Mundubile Facebook page, on the Ifinto Nilungu Facebook page, on the Ifinto Nilungu Facebook page. It's also live in there, Facebook page. It's also live in there, depending on where, you know, it's much clearer, much easier for you to stream and get interactive with us. For that, after that, let's get straight into the conversation around the country. There's Tonse fever, so to speak. Let's get to speak about the meeting you chaired recently with the Council of Leaders. How did it go? What was the objective of the whole meeting?
Well, the Council of Leaders meeting that I chaired on Saturday went very well. There were a number of issues that we discussed. And of course, I did make appointments, various members to different committees, as it were. Of course, it's work in progress. We are yet to appoint other members to various committees to make sure that the alliance is fully functional. Concerns were raised at a meeting concerning the maneuvers that ECZ is trying to make by coming up with amendments to the Act. We are receiving members joining the alliance every other day. So it was a very exciting time, especially that was my first.
The matter at hand. Quite a number of things, but in his keynote address, as we spoke about value addition in the mining sector, well, there seems to be a mismatch, because now the conversation is around how come these benefits are not really going down to the ordinary Zambian, which leads me to ask, what is your strategy to ensure that Zambians are getting the full benefit from Zambia's mining industry if you're put into power?
Yes, Buchi, as at Tonse, our starting point has always been Nakulumutinta Pama, so to speak. Well, firstly, everything put together, all the good things that he said put together, do not seem to have affected Nakulumutinta Pamakasa positively, because Nakulumutinta's living standards keep on going down. An average Zambian today, is facing a number of challenges just to survive. So it's one thing to say the mining sector is good, to see how that is affecting the Zambian people. So maybe the question to ask Puchi is, if the mining sector is doing fine, on whose side? Okay? Is it on the investor side? Nili ya kwebati, ilo tuke shibati, mu mine, natukwatamu obukumu nangu benefit nilira ba investor abaletera olupia basendamo profit but nabe na Zambia nabo bali mu FDF mamo. You can't have it one side. We hear these very good statements made by MP. Ushe uliana kulumutinta uli kwa mugubudu alesunga abeshikulu bakwe abana bako bonse balifwa n'abalume ba president nga batila the mining sector is doing well. Ushena kulumutinta alesenda ila 8 bags of fertilizer na ngwalepoka fertilizer muri meda. Ushena kulumutinta na kwato musebo wa kutipa kuleta fertilizer bale ikisha mpepi ne paleka na kulumutinta. Busho ina kulumutinta ishinda la mashirefu ngefu patala na mfumenda lama muri inda mashirefu makumaini okukule patala fya kuti na kulumutinta elainde ntamfita ndaba ba president wakakamba kuti the mining sector is doing well. Mining sector ichitabu ino tifuti kuna vanamusila wazukuru so una kulumutinta ayanga na ku government kuti government izamba kumuti nda government inapanga ma school pafupi o vipatala makliniki nayo yali pafupi mu clinic muja mu Mankwala na kulumutinta mukamufunza kuti uteko osebenza bwanje azakamba kuti no aba investor wanabwela kuma mine kuma sebenza bwino ndaba bakasebenza bwino na government nayo itsebenza bwino. So if na kulumutinta pamakasa is complaining every day and the president is saying the mining sector is doing well, he may be right. He may be right in that the investors are walking away with everything. I want to say this, and this is something I'm very passionate about. Right from the beginning, the Minister of Finance on 30th of October 2021 was delivering his budget speech. He mentioned that he was going to reduce mineral royalty tax from 6% to 3%, and that he was going to make mineral royalty tax deductible. We all got very concerned because he went further to say as a result of that, government was going to lose revenue to the tune of $600 million. And then we asked him, we said, Minister Stumbeko, you came into this government saying that the government was broke, the treasury was empty, but you're already giving out concessions. What capacity do you have to lose $600 million just like that? And his answer was that, look, we are encouraging the mining sector, to ramp up production to about 3 million tons by 2031. Meaning that if for sure the incentives that were given to the mining sector were to promote and encourage production. Today, we have even failed to go to 1 million tons. Remember that the production in the mining sector has been hovering up in government just for a year. The policies they put in place, they are now boasting that they are everywhere. The whole country is gold. And the president's speech was very rare. It's not quantified. He's not telling us where the money is or where he's getting the money. So if you compare what the Ghanaian president said and what our president has said, for sure you have something to worry about. The president simply said, the Ghanaian president said something that I think you should pay attention to. He said execution and not excuses. Execution and not excuses. So we've gotten used to this. It's speeches year in, year out. As Tonse were saying, it will be execution and not excuses. If we talk about the mining sector doing well, we must be able to demonstrate to the Zambian people the positive impact that the mining sector, the proceeds from the mining sector have had on an average Zambian. So ours is the net benefit. What's the net benefit? We want investment. We encourage investment. But we'll ensure to say from every investment, an average Zambian gets the benefit. So far, I don't think we're getting the benefit out of this mining sector.
Well, he did speak about certain mines that were not functional becoming functional. So maybe that's one area where he's saying, look, we've managed the benefit.
I have reservations on some of those statements. My investigation gives a totally different picture, but that's a topic for another day. But like I said, that it's not enough How many times has the president talked about reopening this mine? Okay, we're talking about the president from Ghana who's only been in government for 1 year, just 1 year. The president started talking about reopening these mines 3 years ago. So these mines have been open the past 3 years. There's no production. We haven't heard what an average Zambian will get. Yeah, so we are talking about a rich country. We are talking about a sector, the mining sector, that this country relied upon soon after independence. You were too young to know that maybe, but I know for sure that every other Zambian my age knows what the mining sector was able to do for this country. Yeah, so his speeches, as Ton say, we no, I think Zambians have had enough of that.
Let's move and talk about the 39 out of 100 in 2024 to 37 out of 100. So for those that do not know, basically the corruption perception index is a measure from 0 to 100. The closer you are to 0, it means that you are more corrupt. The higher you go, the less corruption there is. And this particular measure is for the public sector. How the public sector is handling funds and how the public sector is basically doing business. Transparency International, Zambia, and across the world. Let's talk about this particular one. Moving from 39 out of 100 in 2024 and moving to 37 out of 100 in 2025. What do you feel about that, and how does that look to you?
Well, that is expected. As a matter of fact, if you ask me, I thought it should have been much closer to 0 than we currently are. When in opposition, he campaigned, he was getting his facts or figures from maybe the FIC report and just out of maybe social media. He came in as a champion that was going to fight and combat corruption. What have we seen? Look at the health sector, for instance. The corruption in the health sector that was actually called out. The American ambassador actually shed tears when he talked about the corruption that was going on in the health sector. Our funders, the key players in this corruption should be fired. And most of these even started reporting to Anti-Corruption Commission. Today, what is the story? The story has died a natural death. They did some cosmetic dismissals, which the ambassador said these were small fish that were involved. They were talking about big fish, people at minister level. Because I'm a member of parliament, I interact with the minister, I even knew that ministers were reporting to Anti-Corruption Commission. And this was confirmed by the acting DG that time, that yes, there were a number of ministers that were reporting to the Anti-Corruption Commission. So on one hand, there were confirmed cases of corruption in the health sector. On the other hand, there were ministers that may have been, when SCC was zeroing in on these MPs, the board was dissolved, the DG was fired, and the whole SCC was just dismantled. A pliant SCC was assembled so that they could ignore cases like that. Look at the energy sector, for instance. Look at what is going on, in the energy sector. Let's start with the petroleum subsector. Our friends in the EPND, to poor Zambians to pay. It took the IMF to intervene and demand that the use of the pipeline should be competitive, especially that the law provided for open access. So we saw prices dropping from about $120 per ton to about $65. So that was 3 years later, Ebuchi. We had been paying a premium on fuel for 3 years. And people were some middlemen importing electricity and trading in power. What are they riding on? They're riding on tariffs that and requested, to get approval for emergency tariffs. Remember, this was for a limited Zambian people. So I'm not surprised that the corruption index is showing what it's showing. So these are just the two sectors. Look at the education sector, for instance. We sit in committees where there are revelations to the effect that a PS awards a contract to himself and even pays, and that PS is merely dismissed and not prosecuted. Okay? Why are they not prosecuting that PS? Because he knows too much. The whole team is a team of Look at the mining sector. Colleagues in the UPND will come to you and move the entire mine free of charge to their friends. Approval. There's no, we haven't sold any shares. But you've transferred shares. Yes, but the ministry to come, and there's no decent government that will take over from the UPND that will not re-look at the transaction concerning the Mopani mine. Then there'll be no corruption to talk about. There's no decent government that would come and not review agreements like one on the Ndola dual carriageway. So the list goes on. The most unfortunate part is that we are dealing with people that are going to fight corruption. And like I said, Buchi, remember President Hakainde Hichilema, I think at one time I remember clearly, I was government chief whip at that time. And that year, it must have been 2020, 2019, there was a figure of about 2 billion kwacha of suspicious transactions reported in the FIC report. And President Hakainde Hichilema lifted that figure. He went to all the radio stations and he called all of us in the PF thieves on account of these suspicious transactions. There's 2 billion suspicious transactions. These thieves, Mashulio, Wakawalala. Today, Buchi, there are reports of $3.5 billion, not kwacha, my brother. This was 2 billion kwacha. There's $3.5 billion suspicious transactions in the FIC report. There is 60 billion kwacha suspicious transactions in the FIC report. There is 13.5 billion kwacha suspicious transactions in the FIC report. There's 5.8 billion kwacha suspicious transactions. All this has happened in the past 4 years. They called everybody in government over 2 billion kwacha. They called them thieves, masholi, and so on. And then $3.5 billion, 60 billion kwacha, 5.8 billion, 13.5. What do you want to call them? I could not answer.
Let's look at how, because August 13th is nearing. You become president when people vote for you on that particular day. How are you going to resolve this? How are you going to ensure that there's very little corruption or there's no corruption at all in especially in the public sector? Because that particular one concerns the people. It's the people's money that is at stake. And how will you ensure that there's no corruption when you take office come August 13, 2026?
To respond to that, Buchi, I'll borrow the words of the Ghanaian president. I was really inspired by his speech, so I keep referring to it. You know, I could see a president, running a country moving forward. He said, African countries do not need strong men. They need strong institutions. Even in this particular case, we need strong institutions. Once the Anti-Corruption Commission is strengthened, it starts with appointments, for instance. It starts with a reporting structure. It's got to be foolproof. If, as a president, you indeed want to fight corruption, there is no reason why a report from the SEC cannot be presented to you and to Parliament at the same time. Hello? Like the audit report. We received the Anti-Corruption Commission delivery so that one, the people's representatives immediately have access to this report to see exactly the extent of the corruption that is involved. That is one. Number two, appointments to the board and indeed management. You have a case now where the president appoints the board and he also appoints the DG. So you have challenges there. So the board literally has no power over the Director General, as it were. So there are certain reforms that have to happen to strengthen institutions that fight corruption. Then we'll be very serious about the fight against corruption.
Let's move and talk about the countdown to August 13, because now, as it's nearing, ECZ is heightening its preparation for the elections. And this involves legislative processes with...
You see, like I said, first of all, great nations, a nation's greatness is judged from its fidelity to the law, fidelity to the Constitution. If you look at the proposed amendments and you look at the enabling legislation, the existing act, you see a misalignment. Then immediately you realize that the UPN are very sure about that. They are very sure and they have the right to believe they're going to lose. So now they begin to make maneuvers, what maybe my dear brother, fellow counsel Cornelius Mwetwa, would call Imingalato reloaded or things of that nature. They want to amend the law to literally legislate. Uchi, we're just from talking about corruption. You see, corruption many a time has been actions, that involve private and public interest. Actions can be said to be corruption. And this will include administration, policy, and legislation. I want you to really understand this. You know that those that are in power can actually come to parliament, push amendments so that you legislate corruption. You legislate imingalato, as it were. So that tomorrow, when you ask them to say, how come there is no stamp behind this ballot paper? They said, but that's according to the law. Are we together? And yet, these are some of the safeguards. How will you tell that this ballot paper is not authentic? There should be a stamp to show that some electoral officer, had put a stamp behind it. In case of a recount. So they're trying to do and remove all that. Then because they've compromised certain institutions like the Registrar of Societies, they now want to come in and say only the Secretary General should sign adoption certificates or nomination papers, because they know to say they've already locked that office. There are no changes to that office. They will compromise the few individuals who are serving as SGs today, so that tomorrow people are stranded. They could abduct that SG, the papers. The question really is, what's the motivation? President Hakainde Hichilema, I want to appeal to you, my dear brother. There is no need for all this. We are a constitutional democracy. Zambians must be given a choice to choose their leaders. Let's not hang on to these technicalities to try and frustrate people in their choices, President Hakainde Hichilema. Why should you go through all this? You had a chance, my dear brother. You had a chance. The Zambian people and beginning to change things so that you defranchise the Zambian people.
As a key player in this process, what is your message to ECZ as far as achieving public trust ahead of the August 2026 general election?
They should withdraw. They should withdraw the bill and stop the Mingalato at once. This is about the Zambian people. It's not about ECZ. We've raised concerns. We raised concerns right from the beginning that ECZ cannot be said to be independent when at the helm of ECZ, all you have are party functionaries from the EP. They should not only be independent, but be seen to be independent. No matter how much they try to be independent, they cannot be seen to be independent with the people at the helm of it, because these are functionaries of the EPND. This is why you see them sponsoring bills such as democracy. You cannot sit back and not speak to the ills that we're seeing today. Zambia should not be taken for granted for forever. They are given a term of office. In that period, they can either perform and remain in power, or once they fail, they are removed from power so that another set of leaders can come in and improve the livelihoods of the Zambian people. So you don't want to go against these safeguards. You don't want to go against the safeguards that we chose for ourselves. We are a democracy. We're saying if you perform ikalanga ingailelanga tukakusala tukakuwekeshamu nga wafirwa kukufumia Hakainde Hichilema bene ebalela ndati ubuteko nga bwafirwa okubombera abantu bafile bafumyapo uli obuteko Hakainde bene balela. So nabafirwa ni finish balatulanga ba president Hakainde Hichilema nga twaya kuli scoreboard ya wali tubunga bakabosha pali 50 kwacha nabakoma pa ni noto baleti fertilizer kwa pai 250 nabakoma ni noto baleti imkwai ntweno few wake up iten kwachana bakoma ninoto iyo tukala pela 8 bags bale pela mumameda ninoto finshi bale tweba load shedding and load shedding inoto iyo corruption and corruption na bafirwa ninoto so kanshi tapali nangu pamupo mwinga sengulu ila hiyo nangu wale foku bafo buchi tapali fo winga chita ule mfo buchi there's nothing you can do. They failed on all fronts. What they've remained with, very serious examples. Listen to his counterpart, the Ghanaian president. And you're able to see difference here. It's the exact opposite. President Hakainde Hichilema has done everything in his power to weaken institutions. The courts now can't even render judgments for years. Simple matters. Because President Hakainde Hichilema is so scared of competition. You can't go today and make changes to maybe the office bearers at Registrar of Societies. You can't. If the Registrar of Societies does that, they are fired the very following day. So all those institutions are weakened. Members of Parliament can't debate on the floor of the House anymore before the presiding officers intercept. I have never seen that kind of presiding before. That Parliament, had that Parliament been functioning, we would not have allowed a Minister of Agriculture to export maize and leave us rotting in prison to not be in prison. But because the entire legislature is collapsed, the judiciary is collapsed. It's a fused system. You don't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. They're able to choreograph delivering his address on the floor of the House.
You're watching BM8 Unfiltered, and we're still taking those particular questions. President for 2026 is currently on the screen. Honorable, let's speak on the general feeling that the opposition doesn't have enough time to solicit votes come August 2026. How do you respond to that, seeing that every day that passes, we're getting closer to the date for the 2026 elections?
I don't think that's correct. The votes are already there, Buchi. The votes are already there. The Zambian people are decided. The Zambian people have made a decision that the UPND must go. President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND must go. Those are votes. Are you with me? They've been waiting for an alternative for the Tonse Alliance, a candidate for the Tonse Alliance. And we are here to offer alternative policy. We are here to offer hope to the Zambian people. And that is the reason why central to our policy formulation will be Nakulumutinta Pamakasa. We are looking at for interests of the youths, interests of women, interests of minors, interests of civil servants, interests of farmers, and many other people that have suffered at the hands of the UPND. We are here to tell the Zambian people that we will not come here with empty promises. We will speak to you with practical solutions. We want to deal with practical solutions, things you can look at. If we talk about the economy, Buchi, we're not going to talk about confuse people with figures of macroeconomic fundamentals. Tatokulala ndefyo yo, nga tuenda pali economy, tualangusha, tuenda pali fertilizer, tuenda pabunga, nga tuenda tumutengo wa bunga ukapona. We should be able to explain to you how we make that possible. Nga tulesa agriculture sector, tuleme okuti umutengo wa malaitu wala chipa. Tatulesa na calculator ya bufina ma formula tulelenga pa board kula fulunganya abantu yo. We are coming in, we are looking at the economy that affects the Zambian people. We are not focused on the economy that affects the investors and other foreign interests. The economy that we're going to look at, which is our primary effort, is the economy that affects the Zambian people. And the economy that affects the Zambian people yearns and demands for employment creation as a beginning, as a starting point. Once we create jobs, promising people things that will never happen. It's 5 years. When you talk about numbers, the real opposition the Zambian people have, and the real opposition to assemble a team of men and women of impeccable repute to be able to tackle the different challenges that this economy faces.
Let's talk, just before we get into the comment section, as we go to the comments, the questions that you've been sending, we will be getting to those. But just before we go to those particular questions, just assure the people, as well as the Tonse Alliance membership, on opposition unity and how you plan to ensure that the entire opposition is united under Tonse.
Yes, as you may have been monitoring, there's jubilation right across the country. I'm sure if you're monitoring social media, we are beginning to bring people together. Most of those people that you are seeing endorsing the Tonse Alliance president are not coming from one political party. They're actually coming from many who will definitely come together so that we work as one. That is our priority, like I promised you last time. I already started reaching out to Mpa. We really have no time to do that. We have to offer hope, and I believe that together we can do this.
It's now time for you to interact with Honorable. The questions that you've sent through, unfiltered. He responds to each one of them and addresses them, and together you and him will build a better Zambia through your suggestions and what you feel is burning on your heart this evening. We take a short break, and we come back, he responds to you.
To listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want Zambia to weather. Hello Zambia. My name is Brian Munduvile. As a leader, my duty is clear. Nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, or message and send it to the WhatsApp number. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you. Nothing is off limits. Let's build the future of this country together. To listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you. Nothing is off limits. Let's build the future of this country together. Hello Zambia. To listen without fear. This nation. Join me every Friday at 20. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. To listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. To listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you.
Tonse Alliance President and 2026 presidential candidate for the Tonse Alliance. Come August 13, you will be putting a vote, particular suggestions. You've sent them in the comment section, and it's time for him to respond to those particular questions that you've been sending. Let's get started. The first one says, my question is twofold. Are we going to see, with the discovery of gold, in the mother Zambia? Are we going to see foreigners continue to be given favorable conditions as opposed to indigenous Zambians, or will abundance of our natural resources benefit every single Zambian, every single citizen, basically?
So Jacob, ili ashiria gold ili, not kwatama good examples. If you are pitamo, if you pitamo, what you may call best practices. The first thing, you go to Zambia. Ya sangwa Zambia. First benefit ya kuchita mine gold. So, tualila ndapo before, ukutila, there has to be a structured way to deal with. Firstly, there has to be some government intervention in most of these areas. You go to Mpika, you've got maybe 4, 5, 10,000 people there. What's government's involvement? So how does government get involved? Government will get involved, first of all, to bring in the surveying capability of mineral that is there. They begin to structure people into cooperatives. Once they have done that, they empower them with equipment. They empower them with skills and training. Then they also provide aggregators. Buys, becomes an off-taker of this particular gold. And it adds to the reserves. That's what other people are doing. This is where it's been properly done. Government benefits and the citizens also benefit. The aspect of illegalities only come in because the activity is not structured. Ubuteko nga watalukako uko mule fukula gold. Elio uko tokoba mayanda, tokoba bifimbusu byashala. Wuchushu. Elo government ya ipisa question. Nga ifwe luba linstola senda mu mulifi. Ulu wa government bakwete amaka yota mwinga kwata Jacob. Na bakwata surveying equipment, surveying capabilities and skills. To survey pantolimu emisepela bemba fena guesswork wale chula fie. But government is able to come in and map the area, survey the area. Nokutila banengu mwali 4,000 mine. Muma area zemo tumwene ili. To let you avoid mula mushidi pa utamule chula yo. At the same time, to allow me to provide equipment. Now kuchita uplift. That's what a government is there to save its people. You know, a government is not there to make that these are problems. Whether we like it or not, we can call them illegal, whatever. But the Zambians, how can we best help? That's what governments are there for. And as Ton said, that's exactly what our approach will be to things of this nature. The first thing I'll do, Joseph, the first thing I'll do, Joseph, the first thing I'll do, Paliwa, brother, you can call me Biggie. How do you think I can help? Because like I said last time, in most cases, the youths actually have solutions to their problems facing in various areas. So, there are two ways. Nanguni mulupwa kula bad now. There are two ways. Nanguni mulupwa kula bad now kwa tawa wisokulu. Tangati wa wisokulu wa wiso. But your big brother will say, "My son, what do you want?" The bigger solutions together. So, in general, the difference will be the bigger will sit with young brother and young sister and be able to listen to what they want to do.
Well, you've heard it from him. Zebige is willing to listen. Send those particular questions and he will answer those particular questions. The big brother is here. On the other aspect, the issue of financing for small businesses. How do you plan to make sure that entrepreneurs are the cornerstone of your economy as you come into office?
Yes, thank you very much. I think last time we had a chat, Pucci, we said that as Ton said, we agreed the medium enterprises. That was a very good initiative. But they didn't plan to the end. Okay? So with such a ministry, you will not be complete favors this particular ministry. So small businesses normally find it very difficult to survive because the cost of borrowing is for these banks to give them finance. So what is government's role? Government's intervention, small businesses under this ministry. You see, Buchi, you must understand, government is not there to compete with citizens. Government is there to facilitate for citizens. Government is supposed to be very deliberate. Government programs are supposed to be designed with the desired outcome. So if like the ones that Joseph Moore was talking about, we should already be excited because these are young entrepreneurs who already have ideas. All they need is to be empowered. An average youth in the next 2-3 years will employ between 15 and 20 people. So government is supposed to be excited and ensure that there are programs that are planned to the end. Planning to the end is to make sure that as government, you do what is called backward and forward integration. So literally, if you've got good ideas, government moves in and assists you. They lift you and make sure that you get right to the end. That's how entrepreneurs are assisted.
Another question is coming from Kunda, who says, good evening. What is your plan on mineral royalty and taxation of mines? And then he says, what is the plan or farming for farming inputs for small scale farmers?
Yes, Wakunda. Tapali, there's nothing new. Wakunda ngamanole kesha. A mineral royalty, ukukunuma, to their profits. So twalesangeli they're declaring losses, yo twalipanga losses nefyashala. But if it in the file kulila kofe kuma mine. So whether you're making a profit mu shop nanguyo, you pay the owner of the shop rent. Takuwa batao mkwai, the past 5 days I've been having sleepless nights, mumunganda, socially pay rent away. You know, so with mineral royalty tax, okay, we're able to get something back at least. And we're deductible from the gross profits. But the situation as it stands now, mineral royalty tax from 6% to 3%. And then he made mineral royalty tax deductible. So you see, the way it works, let's take for instance, let's take for instance, your profit is 1,000 kwacha. Okay? Your profit is 1,000 kwacha. And you charge mineral royalty tax, you know, to this particular mine of 500. Now, your gross profit is 1,000. After my deduction, your net profit now is 400 before you deduct your mineral royalty tax. Deduct their losses the following year. So next year. So what government thought that time was mineral royalty tax will not be deductible. So ngawalipila fidia modi case example na chipela tax. I strongly feel bakundo kwebati if we ngabe neba mukuba, ngabe neba cobalt, ngabe neba gold, abe neba zinc, if we get a decent return, if we get some net benefit that is decent enough, we are able to provide 25,000 kwacha are not enough. Teachers are stressed dealing with that. But if we're getting enough from mineral royalty tax, we'll be able to supply medicines to hospitals. We'll be able to work on road infrastructure. This is a resource if properly managed. If you hear figures of what other countries are getting from their mining resources, you will agree with me that we need to do something more. So on the farming inputs, the design of FISIP, Bakunda, the design of FISIP was such that an average of 1 million farmers, were under FISIP. So Kwale Wokutila, after 3 years of benefiting from FISIP, this farmer input support program, you graduate. At that time, the assumptions that were made were inaccurate. Even after 3 years, these particular farmers were not strong enough to stand on their own. So maybe there was need for some adjustment in terms of the quantum of support that they were receiving. So that Tonse will relook at FISIP. First of all, will not discontinue, will continue with FISIP. But then we'll have to enhance it so that the farmers that benefit from this particular support are kept there for a period of time, after which they graduate because now they'll be able to stand on their own. So it all boils down to the support that you give them. If you give them 6 bags or 8 bags as it were, you realize that they are unable to grow enough to grow to a level where they can stand on their own. But maybe if the quantities are adjusted upwards, you find after some time the farmer will become a medium-scale farmer, that he may not even be interested to go and access this assistance. But of course, farming inputs.
Well, you've heard it from here. Zabige has spoken, and the Tonse Alliance president, Honorable Brian Mundubide, has spoken on various issues, and thanks to your questions, he's been able to respond to some of the things that are still burning on your hearts. Remember, keep sending those particular questions and all the other platforms like Ifintu Nilungu and many other Facebook platforms that we are live on currently. Also, you can catch this on Hot FM, and this is it for BM8 and